One group tried some kind of announced revolution, which failed miserably. And second group tried to use election and also failed miserably.
It is debatable who is winning, who is losing, but what I can say right away is that who has lost, and that is for sure, that's the Georgian state.
We need a leader who will empower people and show them that this country belongs to you, not to regime or to them. And that did not happen.
When you're saying that the Georgian dream is not a legitimate government because of this and this and that, it is not enough. You have to say that I am the legitimate government because of this and this and that. And then you have to start performing as legitimate government.
We have a limit. We can afford failure. They can't. So it's like we need to succeed only once and they need to succeed every day. And there is no chance they can succeed every day.
Hello and welcome to Talk Georgia Question Time with me, Giorgi Rukhadze.
And with me, Nodar Kharshiladze.
This is a special edition of Talk Georgia where Nodar and I answer your pressing questions about Georgian and international politics.
And it's brought to you by Droeba Media Group, trusted source of news and information.
And GISAC, a think tank providing comprehensive political analysis of Georgia and wider Black Sea region, also academic and practical training for postgraduate students and mid-career professionals.
So we have one big question today.
And the big question is, that came from Alex, a year has passed since Kobakhidze halted Georgia's EU integration, and protests have continued ever since. Where do we stand now? Who's winning? The people or the regime? And what comes next?
Lots
That's a
of
million-dollar
questions,
question.
yeah.
So, do you want to start, or maybe a little bit of background story?
Yeah, give them background.
Yes. To yesterday, basically, it marks 1 year since this famous GD Prime Minister Kobakhidze statement, statement where he officially said that the Georgian dream is removing Georgia's EU integration from their agenda. And sadly, they successfully did it. And that generated a huge wave of protests that lasted until today, and I am 100% sure that it will continue tomorrow and onwards. That is 366-day consecutive protest, which is, well, unprecedented in Georgian history, and not only in Georgian history. And a lot of things happened since. To answer this question out of my head right away, it is debatable who is winning, who is losing. Of course, we can basically delve into this. But what I can say right away is that who has lost, and that is for sure, that's the Georgian state. For a year, I think the Georgian state was inflicted damage that will be very difficult to kind of waver or to get it back, and it will take not a year, but years to go back to the level where we were a year ago. So let's dive into analysis. Nodar.
Yeah, I think you made a very valid point about the Georgian state being the biggest loser. Now, if we take this protesto and divide it government versus, and as question is asked, people versus regime, regime is winning for the moment. I mean, there is no
doubt about.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there were several attempts to change it, all of them unsuccessful, some more unsuccessful than others. And there are two aspects. One is protest itself. I think there is nothing wrong with that. People are willing to protest, and I think that should continue. And there is this feeling and kind of the notion that numbers can be way larger if well organized. Now, second part of
will that change anything?
Yeah.
Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
But
Second part of the protest is political part. Now, there where we have a huge problems. First of all, no political process can be organized without organization and leader.
That's for sure.
Some people from the political parties and some from the street tried to lead the process, none succeeded. including, unfortunately, President Zurabishvili, who I was expecting that would take a more active role, but she didn't or she couldn't. I don't know. The fact is that she is not. Then different leaders of parties who, for October, failed as a group, and they failed divided, but now they're together in prison, most of them, or in exile. So one group tried some kind of announced revolution, which failed miserably. And second group tried to use election and also failed miserably. So in both cases, we have a failure of leadership. Now, you ask a good question. Even if it's successful, will just protesto lead to something? We remember 90s, there were lots of... Well, yes and no. No, because just standing on the street will not result. I don't believe that will force Georgian. But if it's well organized, it never ends here. It escalates, it goes to the strikes, it goes to the different kind of demonstration of people's defiance. And I think that's where people start feeling their power. And when they start feeling their power, then things start to change. So that we need a leader who will empower people and show them that this country belongs to you, not to regime or to them. And that didn't happen. It's not about political agenda. It's not about nice speeches. We need person or persons who can make people understand that, if you want it, you can change it tomorrow. And that is true, actually. We failed. People themselves showed sign of that, especially in the first days of the protest. But when there was no proper organization or it were not translated in anything, then people started to lose faith. They got disappointed. Some of them left country. Actually, many of them left country. So I think that that's why regime is winning. Now, and to finish with what next with this? Well, two things continues. Both government, unfortunately, regime, and both protester will continue for the moment. Protester will continue because there is no way it will die out because issues are too important. And the regime continues because it's not enough to finish it. So both of them will continue this way. Now, there are two things. One thing, we should always count the Georgian dream will keep making mistakes. We'll keep making mistakes, and these mistakes sometimes are very costly. However, there are huge mistakes from opposition side as well. And moreover, there is so far nobody to capitalize on those mistakes and kind of extract high price from Georgian dream for that. So, both internally and externally, I would not call it fatigue. There is no fatigue. People are ready. But there is a disappointment in leadership, both in our international partners, our supporters, and especially among the Georgian people, that there is no clear and cut way for a change. I don't know if maybe I'm missing something, but for this 1 year, I have not seen any plan presented by any political group, which would say we start with A, go to B, go to C, and then we end with D. I have not seen that. I'm not talking about the comprehensive strategy. That's too much to ask, and not everybody needs that. But even the basic version of something, we do this, and people don't understand how to. I mean, this is a textbook of any protest, but I don't know. It cannot continue like this endlessly. Somebody or somebodies will emerge, but when more and more, I think that Georgian dream will continue to harm themselves, and at some moment there will be some black swan event. I mean, that will be my prediction. This current state will not change anything because it cannot. Pizina Ivanishvili will not abandon his investment, as he considers us, because like 10,000 people are on Rustaveli, or even 50,000, or even 100,000, or even 1 million, unless you force him to. So that's my take. What do you think?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Let's get started. First things first. I think who is winning, who is losing. I agree with you that the regime is winning so far, but the important thing is that the game is not over yet. So I think this, as the reporters would say, it's a developing story.
Yeah.
The regime has a certain advantage, and they are trying to use it as much as possible. Okay, let's take a look. Who is stronger and who is weaker? We can start comparison from this side. Okay, let's say the protest today and protest a year ago. So I think that even though it is a consecutive protest, every single day people come out. They sometimes block Rustaveli, sometimes not. The protest took different forms, etc. Sadly, in my opinion, today protest is weaker than it was at the beginning. In its scale, maybe it is more determined now. It is battle hardened. Yes, these are the elements. But I believe, well, what I see is that, well, the protest is weaker now. Maybe it will get stronger tomorrow. Still, yeah, there is chance for that. But this is what it is now. Let's take a look at political parties. Okay, are political parties stronger now than they were a year ago?
Nope.
No. The political leaders are behind bars, not for months, but for years now. I think in the future. So maybe we talked about prison, how prison affects people and their convictions. Well, maybe in the short run, prison hardens people, but in long run, they make them more passive and philosophical, etc., etc. So, again, the political leaders that we are expected to deliver, they are in prison, and partly they are not able to deliver because they are in prison.
Not all of them are prison. One is exile, and two of them are outside.
Okay, yes, but still, the overwhelming majority are behind bars. So that, again, and the parties as a structures financially, organizationally are weaker now, and plus their leaders are behind bars. That makes them even weaker. If you take a look at critical media and civil society organizations, they are weaker too. I mean, one TV is out of the air, the others are struggling financially. Okay, so they are, and also if we take a look at their share of the media market, that is also shrinking. I mean, the critical media. So civil society organizations are obviously being suffocated. One of them is our own organization, and some of the others. Again, the Georgian Dream made it virtually impossible to get funding from the Western sources. So that also makes civil society weaker. Okay, I'll stop here, and now let's move to the regime. Is the regime stronger now than it was a year ago?
No.
I don't know, because this is something that we don't clearly see. They want to show this their facade as if they are stronger, but taking into account the internal purges that we saw, taking into account that the energy and resources they are spending on, to sustain themselves, well, logically thinking, it should make them weaker. But the facade is that they are still standing, and they are still standing. So again, the same story about the Soviet Union in 1987. I would say 99% of the Georgians would say that Soviet Union can last another 10 or 20 or 30 years. But and the facade was kind of there, but internally it was kind of getting rotted. So I would have the same opinion of the Georgian Dream as a regime. I don't think they are stronger now, but we don't know how weak they are. They are not as transparent as all the other institutions that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's move on. Part of the battle that was won almost 100%, that is the international recognition issue. Okay, it's been a year, and the Georgian dream is isolated and internationally not recognized as a legitimate government in the democratic world. Well, that's clearly a success for opposition and also civil society of Georgia. But it is also a developing story, and it is not the end of the game. So, because Georgian Dream removed Georgia from the European Union enlargement agenda, and now European Union is also planning to remove Georgia from its enlargement agenda, that marks a moment when recognition may come if Georgian Dream sustain themselves in the power. Because the key reason why Georgian Dream was not recognized, not because they violated rigged elections, or they kind of took Georgia away from Georgian people's, choice of European path, but because Georgia was a candidate country of the European Union, and it was measured differently. If the similar thing happened in Belarus or Azerbaijan or any other typical authoritarian country, the European Union and democratic world would, when protests would subside, they would continue as, not as usual, but close to business as usual. I think that if Georgian Dream succeeds to sustain itself further the next year or the year after, and Georgia is completely removed from the European Union enlargement agenda, and it joins the clubs of autocracies, for them, then I think the democratic world will start recognition of the Georgian Dream as a de facto government first, then technical relations will start, then mid-level political contacts will resume, and finally, well, there will be certain type of relations. Of course, Georgia would be a neighbor of the European Union, like Azerbaijan or some others. But, well, this is coming unless something changes.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a clear one for the opposition in terms of international relations here, but it is also a developing story. What is going to be next, I don't know. If everything continues as it is now, it will become war of resources. It's exactly the same way as the Russia-Ukrainian war. So depends on who's got better resources and who's got better stamina. Because, again, if Georgian Dream manages to sustain themselves financially, to have their law enforcement agencies intact and strong, and they continue a long time, they may win and succeed in establishing autocracy, full autocracy and dictatorship in this country. If the money stops flowing, if there are cracks in the Georgian Dream body, then, no matter how big or small the protest is, that can turn itself into a force that could push Ivanishvili out of power. It's very similar as in something that happened with Soviet Union. There's a lot of resources there, but they couldn't sustain themselves.
Okay, so your comparison to USSR is very finite, actually. Yeah, while USSR was a world-scale empire with a complex ideological and economical model, what goes in parallel that it collapsed from inside. I mean, there are lots of conspiracy theories, especially popular in Putin's Russia, how CIA destroyed. No, Communist Party of Soviet Union destroyed USSR. I mean, it was an internal conflict.
Yes. Of course, I mean, there was outside factor,
Of
basically,
course, Hell yes, there was a Cold War. Of course. But United States never wanted to collapse Soviet Union.
No.
I mean, they wanted to weaken it. But collapse of it was a struggle of elites, new elites versus old elites. I mean, Yeltsin and team versus Dolkom. So what we see in Georgian Dream, there is this purge ongoing, and so far Kobakhidze is prevailing, but Purges are messy things to manage. I mean, you never know when it turns left or right. So I think what happens now that this battle, you mentioned very well that opposition is weaker, international the internal actors like NGOs and media is weak. Georgian Dream, I think, is also weak. It's fair to say. One thing which we gained, George, and this is the resolve. Purely from the pragmatic perspective, most of us have nothing to lose anymore.
Yeah, that's something important. That makes us braver.
Yeah, this year brought us such hardships that it's over. You know, no funding, no projects, no TV stations, no basic sustainment opportunities. So there is nothing to lose. I mean, they put us in a situation where we are capable of doing lots of things now, and I don't think that they would benefit from that because they themselves can lose everything because of
we
that.
might not also not benefit
Yes,
from
but
that.
this is not our fault.
Yeah, definitely they would not be benefiting from
Putting
that.
your adversaries in desperation and then leave it like this, it will be very... Either they need to very fast establish dictatorship, which they don't have resources, or this situation will go. More and more people will become desperate, and desperation breeds very, very unpredictable things. I mean, lots of my colleagues I see, and from media or from NGO, they are saying, you know, there is nothing to lose for me anymore. I will even go to prison. I mean, I don't care. So this is resolve, I think, which we gained. And internationally, yes, you're right. If things go like that, one day there will be no business as usual. But there is a long way. For the moment, I mean, yesterday was a declaration, I think, or 2 days ago, by Swiss Confederation. When even Switzerland, which is a neutral country, reminds you about your own constitution, this is very, very sad day indeed, because you need to get there, you see. So, and thank you very much to our Swiss friends. I think that Black Swan event or any crisis, this is a war of resources, you said. I would add that this is a war of attrition now. And our side has been devastated, but we are still standing. Now we need to see, when Georgia Dream is devastated, will they manage to stand? Because our resilience is especially in our lack of everything. I mean, we have nothing to lose. And that is our resilience.
And
But,
they have everything to lose.
yes, what happens? And Bidzina understands this well. That's why this Arab money and these attempts to inject. First of all, this guy will not bring any money. He will try to extract from here. He's a very well-known guy for that. Secondary, I don't think that you can make happy everybody. And now with this Garibashvili thing, with this arrest, with this thing, more and more people inside the Georgian Dream, those ones who should be their soldiers and officers, are now their hostages. You know how landmines work? That's very interesting. You know, landmines don't kill people. The standard landmine, it will take a soldier's leg off. So, but you can construct mine that kills. Why don't now? Because dead is dead. But wounded soldier, you need to take care of them. So it slows you down. And instead of functional soldiers, now you have a burden on yourself.
Yeah,
So
just to carry on your shoulders.
it's same on that. Instead of Mr. Rukhadze being a Georgian Dream supporter now, contributing money or doing some things, now he's a prisoner. They need to take care and plus explain why he's not to us. We don't actually care. We know why he is. But to their own elites. So it's a double harm, Georgian Dream. So in the fullness of the time...
For the audience, it's not part of Burchuladze.
No,
so
it's Juansher
Burchuladze.
Burchuladze.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword for them, which they're swinging somehow successfully for the moment. But there is no chance that they aren't gonna get cut with that. And when they are in true crisis, we need to see how. When everything goes fine, when you have money, when police salutes you, and when army is in barracks, everybody can pretend that they're strong. Now, when those things, and this is coming, when those things start weakening because either you have no money or you purge too many people and people start protesting from inside, or there is some other group emerging from the inside, now then this system will be put to true test. Unfortunately, our biggest failure in this 1 year, we didn't manage to put them to the true test. I mean, that's where we failed. But thanks to Mr. Kobakhidze, they are doing them themselves. So I wish them all the luck.
One thing I want to add is that, I stopped where, what is next? And I mentioned that it is the war of resources. Depends on, who is more resilient and who's got more money and people, right? So, and if you compare, let's say, now Ivanishvili's regime and compare to each component that I named, like the opposition parties or civil society organizations, if you compare them, obviously the regime has advantage and they are more resourceful. But if you take everything that is left together on the other side, the political parties, civil society organizations, media, people, Rustaveli protests, etc. And if you manage it together, then I'm not so sure who is more powerful. And I think what will happen, minus black swans, obviously, will depend on how our side organizes itself. So far, we failed. So, but basically, there are a lot of lessons to learn. And if we learn lessons, if we can basically unite all the components that is opposing the Georgian dream and the regime, I think that this will determine what will happen next. And also the legitimacy. I think that the way to go is that also Georgian dream didn't leave much space to political parties and to civil society organizations what to do or how to continue on their own, because they cannot. And the only way to go, I think, is some kind of reunification and organization. And most importantly, it is my opinion that I think that, the main thing will be the legitimacy, When you're saying that the Georgian dream is not a legitimate government because of this and this and that, it is not enough. You have to say that I am the legitimate government because of this and this and that. And then you have to start performing as legitimate government internally and outside of the country. It may sound a little bit funny and it may sound a little bit unrealistic, but I think that this is the way to go. And then if the protest gets bigger or the black swan event happens, it only will benefit you. So, but if you're not organized, if you're not united, even black swan events might not help you.
One thing, final things I would like to add. It's a limit of failure, Our side can afford failures. This is our strength, unfortunately. Because mostly we have nothing to lose. And if we fail today, we're going to come tomorrow, then day after day, because again, we have nothing to lose. So our limit of failure is quite large. Now, Georgian dream needs to fail only once. And
if that happens, they are done.
So we have a limit. We can afford failure. They can't. So it's like we need to succeed only once and they need to succeed every day. And there is no chance they can succeed every day. So all the factors combined, I think this limit of failure gives us quite a confidence to say that this will end this way. Now, timing is an issue, of course, because as you said, every day damages the Georgian state. Every day they stay in power, takes us back, and then we need to spend years to just go back where we were in 2016, let's say, or
2018 or whatever.
The best time to give you the November 1st, 2012, when government changed by election and everybody was so excited about Georgia's future that now it's really becoming a democracy. So this limit of failure for us, and I don't think that it will ever. I will never stop, or I know people who will never stop protesting one way or another. But Georgian Dream has other options. So once they failed once, some of them will try to save their money and go. Some of them try to settle with us and switch sides. Some of them try to flee, and some of them try to resist. So their options make them more vulnerable. But in order to make this happen, of course, we need better organization. So let's hope for that.
Thanks, Nodar. And thanks for watching us and listening to us. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And I'll see you next week.